Hey beer and brew fans, and welcome to Something About Beer. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on my Cicerone journey. For those of you that have followed the channel, you know that I'm on the journey to become Cicerone. I'm working on my certified beer server exam at the moment, and I've spent the last few months studying and really getting to grips with what I need to do in order to pass that exam. So what I thought I'd do today is really give you a bit of an update on what I've done, where I've gone for that information, and maybe it will help those out that either are on the journey of certified beer server or thinking about doing that. So first things first, I just need to lubricate. That's better. So the first thing I would say, my first piece of advice would be, is to start by determining your starting position. You know, your starting knowledge, where you think you are in terms of knowledge on certain parts of the curriculum. And the way I did this was to take a mock exam, or take a few mock exams actually. And what that does is enable you then to focus on those areas where you are more competent than others. And for me, it really helped identify those areas that I needed to spend a little bit more time than others. That also enabled me to break down the the studying into bite-sized pieces, and that felt really efficient for me to be able to do that. The next thing I would highly recommend is to read through the syllabus. I printed mine off, you can see here. Read through it, you know, match that up with those areas where you need to spend a little bit more time, you know, from your mock exams. I printed it off personally because I take it around if I travel, and if I'm, you know, if I've got 5 or 10 minutes spare, I can just take that out and have a quick read of certain things. But definitely look at the syllabus and look at those areas where you need a little bit more help than others. There's a lot of information in books, online, etc., which is what I'm going to dig into in a second. But before I get into that, the thing that I think would help a lot of people is having practical experience in beer and the brewing world. I'm quite fortunate. I've been brewing for 2 decades, I guess, so from a brewing perspective, then I have quite a lot of practical experience. But try and find some practical experience for yourself. You know, for example, if you know somebody that homebrews, just reach out to them and ask them, you know what, can I come and help you out on your next brew day? You know, we're a friendly bunch as homebrewers, and generally we like to share those experiences with others. So I'm pretty sure that you will get a positive answer to that. If you don't know people that homebrew, then, you know, look at maybe some of your local craft brewers in your area and knock on their doors and go and see them, have a word with them, explain, you know, your situation, you're studying for the Cicerone exam, etc., and ask if you can be free labor for them for a few days, just to really get some practical experience in terms of you know, in terms of brewing and how brewing is done and all of that kind of thing. I definitely recommend that. The other thing as well is the same for beer serving. So, you know, if we're talking about serving beer and cellarmanship, for example, if you haven't worked in a bar, or, you know, you've never been part of that, then try and go to your local bar or bars and just again ask them, you know, can you be some free labor for a period of time? You know, offer to work for free behind the bar, collecting glasses, watching how kegs are changed, so that you can pick up some practical experience in that. There are some formal reading material that I would highly recommend you look at, and are generally must-haves on your journey for certified beer server. The first one is a draft beer quality manual. That's by the Brewers Association. It's quite intense. It really goes into the technical aspects of draft beer lines and all of that equipment, the names of them, what they do, you know, how to manage a draft line if there's issues, all of that. And this is a absolute important read for the certified beer server. It's also definitely required reading for the certified Cicerone exam, which is the next one along, of course. In some areas it's quite heavy. For me it was a little quite heavy going, but a lot of good information. The other really required reading, or at least an understanding of, is the BJCP Guidelines. You can download the app. I think the app is only for the 2015 guidelines, I think. I'm not sure. But that's easy. You know, you download that on your phone, the app is there, but you can also print off you know, the PDF and download the PDF, etc. To look at that. What that does really is give you a good understanding of different beer styles, what they should be like. It gives you some history of the styles as well, which is quite interesting in a lot of ways. It also gives you the context of some of the styles and why some of the styles are like they are. You don't need to go in depth in the exam for certified beer server in terms of knowing you know, the percentages of alcohols, etc. But there is an element of understanding the beer styles and its fundamental aspects and what to expect when you have certain styles of beer. So definitely recommend looking at that as well. One of the books I bought that was probably the most useful for me that I found was Tasting Beer by Randy Mosher. And I think that's also going to be very useful for certified Cicerone level as well. A very easy read for me, at least. It's quite interesting when you get into it and all of the different aspects. It talks about different styles of beer, beer serving, the history of beer, into food and beer pairing and things like that. Not that you need all of that for certified beer server, but you know, it's a great read. And actually I would say one of the most helpful pieces of reading literature that I found online actually was the Brewdog Certified Beer Server Workbook. Now what Brewdog did is they put together their own sort of workbook for their teammates that were actually taking the certified beer server exam, and they put a spin on it in their own kind of style. It's quite light reading. There's some comedic angles in the book as well, which, you know, make you smile and whatever. So that makes it a little bit light reading as well. But the other thing I liked about that was that at every end of every part of the section of the workbook, there is like a 5-minute sort of recap of with questions, testing you on what you've just learnt. And I found that really, really useful, I've got to say. It put it in very easy to read sort of language and followed the curriculum of the certified beer server exam. So very, very helpful. And I would definitely recommend downloading that and you know, looking at that and using that in your study material for sure. Now, of course, there are a lot of online resources, a lot of people doing videos on YouTube, like this one, and I spent a huge amount of time trawling through you know, YouTube and looking at a lot of information, and all of it was good, all of it was relevant to an extent. What I found was, though, you really needed to do a lot of research to get to the specific points you want. And I go back to my original advice about taking a mock exam to really identify those areas that you need to brush up on, because those are the areas you really want to focus on. And it's the same when we talk about, you know, trying to find that information on YouTube. Because something might be titled, you know, brewing a German Pils, And then when you look at that, it might be a 25-minute long video, which is all interesting, but there may only be a certain amount of that you really need. So sometimes you have to dig around a little bit to find those areas that are specifically relevant to your needs. But there's a huge wealth of knowledge out there, as I'm sure you're aware. A couple that I found really interesting. The first one was Certified Beer Server Prep Talks by Neil Witte. And Neil Witte is a master Cicerone. He put out 12 sessions that really walk through all the aspects of what you need to know and what you need to study for the Certified Beer Server exam. I found these really useful. He doesn't go into detail on absolutely everything in the curriculum, but he really touches on certain key aspects, which also gives you a flavour of what you might expect in the exam. So that is really good. For me, I actually found this really good to do when I'm in the car. If I'm traveling 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, in the car, I can just put YouTube on and listen. Because a lot of it is verbal. There's not really a lot of visual that you need, apart from when he's talking about the various keg couplers and how they work and what they look like. Then obviously you need to you need to see that and really understand what they're all about. But that's definitely one I would recommend. There's another one, Pat Fahey. He's also a master Cicerone, and he's done a number of YouTube videos and live sessions that are recorded and you can replay at any time. Tasting Together series is a good one, and this is where basically he goes through certain types of beer. He has that beer in front of him. He speaks about the history of the beer, about why it is the beer it is. You know, the modern day version versus the historical versions, how that's changed over time, and all of that. He also does some calibrations with other styles. So if you talk about a porter, he also says, the similarity with stout, and it's really really interesting. These series though are also very useful, I would say, for the Certified Cicerone exam as well, because it goes into depth a little bit more than what you probably need for the Certified Beer Server, but definitely good watching for sure. He also does things like exam tactics. He does style discrimination, food pairing, which is also a very interesting one, but you don't really need that so much for the Certified Beer Server, more for the Cicerone, the Certified Cicerone. And staying on the Certified Cicerone, there was one area that I looked into a little bit more than was probably needed, and that was food and beer pairing, because that's something that I'm really interested in. And there was one, it was called Cicerone Presents Beer and Cheese Pairing. It was a panel discussion and it was hosted by Jen Blair. That was very interesting. They had a panel of beer experts and cheese experts from around various areas, and they basically discussed about how they pair beer with cheese and why. They talk about the ingredients in beer that could pair with cheese and why that's important. And although for the Certified Beer Server exam you're probably not going to need all of that, what it does is really give you some insight into the flavours of the beer and some of the ingredients and what flavours they give you, which definitely helps into understanding the different beer styles, which is something you will need for the Certified Beer Server exam. So yes, another one. If you've got an hour or two spare, definitely check that one out. And generally, the Cicerone Certification Programme on YouTube, if you subscribe to that, there's a whole host of information and detail in that that you will find very useful, not just for the Certified Beer Server exam, but the Certified Cicerone, the Advanced Cicerone, and of course the Master Cicerone. And the next thing is really about the brewing process, I guess. Lots and lots out there on the brewing process, homebrew or professional brewing process. You will need some of that for the Certified Beer Server, just to understand things like how beer is brewed, the fundamentals of brewing beer, The vocab is important. You know, what does mashing mean? You know, what does grist mean? Pitching the yeast, what does that mean? All of these things, you're going to need some of that vocab to really understand the topics there. For me, that was something I didn't need to look into too much because I've been brewing quite a long time, so I didn't really go into a lot of those channels and those resources because I didn't need it. But that, as I'm going through the process, you can tell there's a lot out there to look at. There are some nice to haves as well. You don't necessarily need them. There are nice to haves. The Cicerone Study Guide by Chris Cohen. It's a really good, from what I can see, it's a really good course. From what I've read, some great feedback. It's paid for. You have to pay for the program. I think the current rate is something like $300 for the program, but I think that also takes into account the certified Cicerone, or part of it at least, as well. So I don't know what level that's on. I didn't really go into it in too much detail, but that's there if that's something that you think you might need. There's also Beer Savvy from Cicerone, which is specific to the various exams. So certified beer server, I think is approximately $200. I don't know what it is in pounds, but that's there as well if you want to purchase that. You know, that's on there. There's other things like sensory training kits and the like, but that's really not necessarily for the certified beer server. That's more for the Cicerone certified Cicerone level. But it's something that I came across as I'm doing the research, and those are the things that I'm going to be looking into when I get to you know, that point in my journey. So you know, that's more or less it. What I wanted to share with you today. I will put the all the links in the description of the video so you can see them. Also, I'd really love your feedback about what I've presented here today. If you think it's useful, yes or no, give us a thumbs up, give us a tick, give us a like. But also, you know, what has your journey been like? What are the things that you've seen and you've found? Maybe share that with me so the other people in the community can also share with that as well. So yeah, that's it. And yeah. The only thing to say now is, of course, until next time, cheers. If you like what we're doing here at Something About Beer, please subscribe. It really does help the channel out a lot. And don't forget to ring that bell so that you're alerted to new content we're putting out.